Of all the things that I learned this week, and guys, I like to learn something new every week. I had no idea how entertained viewers would be by styrofoam and legs. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update, the first of the month of May. Guys, a lot of things going on this week. If you've been hanging around the channel, you know that I was a little busy with all kinds of stuff in this room right here. But we're going to do like we usually do, guys. Let's kick things off with talking about what am I reading? Well, yes, I finally finished Memories of Ice. This is the third book in Malazan, Book of the Fallen. In case you haven't been following the channel or you just showed up, we are doing a channel read along of this, and this was the book for April and May. So I'd like to give a couple months for each of these. That's going to be the new method going forward, 2 months for each book. And guys, look, this book took me, I felt like, forever, and I finished it in just under 3 weeks. So again, I think that 2 months is plenty of time for these books. For this one, my immediate feedback, I kind of started a shitstorm on the Discord because just an opinion that I had on something. And, you know, sometimes people who have read the entire series, they can't look at it again as a first-time reader would. And I got to try to remind those people, well, how did you feel when you were at the, 3 out of 10 mark? You know, how did you feel about what I'm talking about right now? And, you know, and usually they can take a step back and be like, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm not really thinking about it that way. I got this a lot with Wheel of Time when I would say, like, in book 5 I didn't like a character, and they're like, well, wait till book 11. You know, I'm like, well, you know, I guess I will. I don't really have another option. But my immediate thoughts are, look, I like the book a lot. I just didn't like as much Deadhouse Gates. I think the thing it wasn't expectation. People said, well, is it because there's so much expectations with this? I don't really think so. I never usually let that deter me one way or the other. I really, really connected with a lot of the things going on in Seven Cities. And I thought I wanted to go back to Genebacus, but the whole time I'm in Genebacus, I'm just thinking, God, what's going on over there in Seven Cities right now? You know, these kind of take place concurrently and stuff like that. Like, there's a plenty of stuff that I liked about this. There's 2 plot lines that I really did not click with, and those they just seem to take forever while reading this. But I kind of jokingly called this Memory of Info Dumps because there's lots and lots of info dumps. But again, I like the book quite a bit. It's just, I mean, when people told me that this was their favorite out of the 10, I'm like, I don't know that it would be the favorite of the 3 I've read right now. I know I did kind of do my ranking already, but I'll talk about that. I'm going to be talking about spoilers and, of course, the standard review of it pretty soon. I'll get a little deeper into that. But that's kind of where I'm standing right now, is that I liked it. I just don't think I liked it quite as much as some other people have. But again, it's an incredible achievement what he's able to pull off with some of these books. But yeah, I'll wait for the spoiler talk to really get into what those things are. And then I started reading The Eaters of the Dead. Now look, first I want to thank a viewer, Leon. He noticed that I didn't have a dust jacket for this book, and he sent me his dust jacket. So thank you so much. It looks so much nicer now with this actual dust jacket. That is such a thoughtful gift. Thank you so much, Leon. I really do appreciate that. But I started reading Eaters of the Dead. It's very short, guys. It's like 200 pages. I'll probably finish it up tomorrow. I think I'm at like the 70% mark, which really, you know, it's so weird that they don't put these in this book in publication order. They put Congo, Sphere, and Eaters of the Dead, but Eaters of the Dead came before that. I don't know why they put these Eaters of the Dead at the back of this, but again, these aren't life's problems, right? But I'm enjoying it quite a bit on revisit. I know in my memory I liked it quite a bit. What I like about it is it's almost, and I think this might be some things that kind of deter other people. As I said, it's almost like in that Bram Stoker's Dracula, and that, like, you're reading journals like that. Look, it is very much based off this historical document that really does exist. And then Crichton kind of, like, the way he presents this, it's almost like you would be if you were in a lecture with Michael Crichton, and he will be telling you that he'll be reading, you know, the document will be in the character's point of view, and then he'll have, like, his take on it and, like, what historians over the centuries have thought about these things. for me, it's something that I think is really cool. It really feels like you're learning. But I know some people just want a straight, story. So that kind of is what deters them from really, really liking this book. Me, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I love anything with Viking culture. I just finished reading Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, so I was already in that real Viking mode. So Viking culture, seeing it through the eyes of a Muslim man, was obviously a very, very cool twist that I feel like this book really delivers. And I'm having a great time with it. I'll be finishing that up, and that'll get me into what am I going to read. Now, obviously, I'm going to finish Eaters of Dead. Like I said, I'll probably finish that tomorrow, unless something catastrophic happens. And then I've already told you guys the last couple of weeks, so I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to start 4 Past Midnight, Stephen King. Don't really have much more to add to that because, like I said, if you watch these weekly updates, you know that I'm going to be reading. It's just Malazan took me like 3 weekly updates, guys, so I have to keep repeating what I'm going to kind of do here. So after 4 Past Midnight, it's going back to the planet Hyperion for the follow-up to one of my favorite science fiction novels of all time, with The Fall of Hyperion. Now, this is where things start to get different amongst the fandom. It seems like everybody loves that first book, and then it's hit or miss the rest of the way. A lot of people didn't like how the first one had that structure of the different tales being told by the different pilgrims, whereas this one's just straight up regular sci-fi narrative. I don't even know the POV character, or if it's doing it like that, really. I don't know. But I'm very, very excited to get back to that world, because if you watch that Hyperion review, you know how much I really did like that book. And it didn't give you real answers, So I'm looking forward to getting those answers. And that will be the big one for the rest of the month. After that, God, I forget. Oh, the last Rhaenyra book is kind of what I got planned after that. So busy month, obviously. But we're clearing the decks, because on June the 1st, guys, we start House of Chains, Malazan number 4. And that's the new method going forward. I am starting on the first month, or the first day of that month, just like everyone else. So hopefully that will encourage more people to join in the read along and kind of, talk to me on the Discord, where a lot of us are doing that right now. Let's get into, guys, this week on the channel. Very busy week. I started things off by wrapping up the month of April. I always love to do those wrap-ups, really, because first off, I get to say what my book of the month was. So check that out if you didn't do that yet. But you probably figured it out after what I just talked about a second ago. But yeah, I get to do my book of the month, talk about everything I read, talk about how the channel did, what content did really good, things like that. Maybe some content that kind of fell flat, gauge growth on the channel, and then talk about like goals going forward. The big goal, obviously, is hitting 45,000 subs, most likely this month. I'm hoping like a week or whatever. Yes, I'm going to be doing a live stream after that happens. Haven't scheduled that yet. Now that I'm, working again, guys, it isn't as easy for me to schedule those as it used to be. It used to just be, hey, during the day, the kids are at school, perfect time to do a live stream. So I have to do this on the weekend now. And when the kids are here and the wife is here, got to make sure I can work out that time to sit there and talk to you guys for 2 to 3 hours, like those live streams usually go. But that's always going to be fun. And for the review for last week, I did review Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. And I do know that it was late. It seems like everybody had already reviewed it. So I decided just to go ahead and hold mine until release day. Put it out at midnight just for fun, just because, even though there wasn't an embargo on it or anything, I always like to do that for like new releases. I did it for Battleground with Jim Butcher also. It's just something fun, it kind of makes me think of like the days of waiting for like midnight for a record release from a band you really like or something like that. You guys too young to remember any of that kind of stuff? Yeah, that's just kind of what makes me think of. So a book that I really love, look, John Gwynne is 8 for 8 for me right now. And I'm thinking of any other fantasy author. No other fantasy author that I can think of is 8 for their first 8 with me. Even Joe, Red Country wasn't a hit for me. So even Joe wasn't a 8 for 8. Brandon Sanderson, no, he wasn't an 8 for his first 8 with me. So yeah, I think that this guy is just the hidden gem of fantasy, as I say in that review. And again, if you're into the Viking culture and all that kind of stuff, and just you want some real good modern fantasy without a lot of the crap that you got to cut out, John Gwynne is the guy you guys should be reading. But if you've watched this channel before, you know how I feel about John Gwynne. I don't think anybody was surprised that it was an overwhelmingly positive review, because the guy just keeps getting better. And there wasn't really a ton of room for improvement, in my opinion. So, yeah, he keeps on just hitting them out of the park, and I can't wait for book 2 next year. Then I did my big super secret thing. Now, why I called it the super secret shelf project was just because I wasn't really advertising that what I was going to be doing, what my plan was for the room, but I was out of room for books. So I had to devise a way to get more shelves in here. And I entertained the idea of buying like a corner shelf for that wall over there. But yeah, the prefabricated like corner shelves, stupid expensive. So I decided to come up with my own little plan. And it worked out fine. It required a lot of labor. So the first what I had to do was part one, as I call it, that shelf project, was assembly. I had to build the 2 new shelves, had to build the light fixture, and then I had to move everything over because I had to move all of my regular shelves over about 4 inches. But, you have to take everything off to move these. The books are too heavy. You can't do that. So it was a lot of labor involved. And apparently the biggest takeaway from that video was that I something about my legs. Now, look, I don't know if it's because my legs were like super pale. I don't know if it's because I have nice legs, or I don't know if it's just because I have legs at all. You guys usually see me from the waist up, because that way I can wear pajama pants in these videos, guys. That's why I do that. But yeah, I'm not Philip Chase, guys. I don't stand up while I do these videos. So I didn't know that my legs were going to be like this big revelation. I mean, let's be honest here, guys. Most people have them. But again, some interesting comments for sure. Then in part 2 was my rearranging all the books and trying to find a new home for everything to make sure everything fit, and trying to get everything uniformed. You can see with the aesthetic of my bookshelves, I like to keep all the same size books together. So on the side shelves, I did the mass market paperbacks, and then I did my mid-sized trades. Then on my primary shelves, I did all my hardcovers, trying to separate those by fantasy, sci-fi, and horror. And then on the corner shelves is where I just put my large trades. That's the ones that are like the Hyperion, that are like massive. They're the same size as hardcovers, but they are, paperback. So I think it worked out pretty well. I've got tons of room for growing space. But in that one, the most popular comment is that people were absolutely amazed by styrofoam, apparently. If you can't tell, some of my shelves, I double stack some books in that shelf, and people thought that I was just stacking them on top of other books. But what I have is a block of styrofoam back there, and people were just absolutely fascinated with this idea. For me, a lot of these bookshelves just have so much wasted real estate, because they don't even take up half the space. So I thought, I originally did this just for my Star Wars mass markets, because that way I could double stack them and put more books on your shelf, right? But it's just something that I thought was a really neat idea. And I just basically, guys, I just bought like a couple blocks of styrofoam, measured, taped them together, and that's it, So so many people were just like absolutely amazed by that. But it's just styrofoam, guys. It's dirt cheap. You can get it at a dollar store or any craft store, and just measure and cut. And I just used packing tape to put them together if they weren't flaking, because sometimes you saw styrofoam, it starts to flake real bad. So if it doesn't roll flaky, it isn't real super cheap. You shouldn't have that problem at all. I did have that problem with the first one. That's why I had to put poster board around the one that's black over there with the Star Wars ones. So yeah, it's just nice little ways to rig, being able to fit more books on your shelf. But those were videos I wasn't even sure I was going to put those out, because I didn't think that was something that anybody would want to see. And, it was like the biggest video of the week. So I'm glad people had a good time with it. People seem to be genuinely entertained by it. So that's cool. That's cool. I like to do something a little different every once in a while to kind of break up the monotony. That's why I do like the off the book segments and stuff. So things don't get stale. So if you weren't into that kind of content, that's cool. I mean, that's it's going to happen once in a great while. So you'll be fine. But it seems like more people did seem to enjoy it than didn't. And yes, I have legs. Let's talk about some next week plans, guys, because those shelf videos took longer than I expected. The off the books for Quentin Tarantino, the rankings that I'm going to do for that do slide to next week. I love to do the off the book segments, like I said, to break up the monotony. And I feel like there's so many things that we talk about in the Discord that I'm like, that would make a really great video if that was that type of channel. So off the books gives me a chance to once in a while, without completely breaking brand, is to just talk about some stuff that I love outside of books. And Quentin Tarantino is definitely one of those. Then I'm going to do my Memories of Ice spoiler talk number 2. So if those people who have finished the second half of Memories of Ice will be able to watch that. If you haven't finished it yet, I'd probably wait. But I just like to go through in those and talk about the characters, talked about what I liked, talked about what I didn't like. And I think this one's going to be the first one where I have some of the Malazan veterans be kind of mad at me, because there's some things I'm going to talk about that it seemed to have ruffled some feathers on the Discord. I'll be doing my April book haul. Now, book hauls usually are one of the most popular videos of the month. I don't imagine this one will be any different. Lots of new things because you guys continue to be super generous. I haven't even taken a picture of that one yet because I haven't made a thumbnail because you got to get all those books out and take the picture and then put them all back. Nah, I just wait until right before I do that one. And then I don't know if this is actually going to happen. We've been talking about it for a while here. You guys know that Moid from Media Death Cult, maybe don't know, a lot of people think that me and him had like this big rivalry. It was just something we did for fun, like a shoot, like we're like wrestling, you know, is a shoot where you just pretend like you don't like each other. It's just kind of something that we did for fun, and so many people started taking it seriously that I had to like kind of clear the air that, guys, we do this just as a joke. You know, we're actually pals, and we're actually talking about doing a collaboration. We're supposed to be doing that this weekend, but, you know, he is across the pond. It's difficult for us to kind of schedule times together. But as far as what we're going to do, nothing, really. We had talked about, like, doing, like, he comes on my channel and talks about a fantasy book, and I go on his channel and talk about a sci-fi book, and then we just say, you know what, let's just do something where we just bullshit, you know, like we did, like, because we both came from podcasting backgrounds. So I think it'd be fun to just kind of just bullshit and just talk about whatever, you know, talk about booktubing, you know, this whole thing. I don't know. We could just sit there and talk about Stargate SG-1 for an hour. I don't know. I'd be cool with that. Whatever he wants to do. So I don't know if it's going to be on my channel, it's going to be on his channel. I don't even know how any of this is going to work. It's just kind of, we're just like, hey, whatever. We put it off long enough. Let's just do it and see what happens. So I'm looking forward to that. And it'll probably just be him making fun of me for, you know, an hour and me laughing. And you know what? That's the content you guys are here for. I think you're going to be happy. That's it for the book things, guys. There are some TV and movie talk things I want to do here. I had mentioned that I was going to watch Shadow and Bone on Netflix. Well, a bunch of us on the Discord, I think I had told you this previously, had talked about doing a group watch. Now, this is something that I did with some of my patrons. There was about 8 of us. We did a watch party on the Discord together, and we watched the first 2 episodes, and we were all kind of blown away. We actually kind of really liked it. You know, I thought the show was going to be better than the books because it wasn't really that hard, and I knew they had a competent showrunner. But it's like I was like impressed with. Look, yes, it is still very CW. If you aren't into like CW tween programming, it's probably not going to be for you. I've said from day one, I know I'm not the target demographic for this. But I love Supernatural. I love the 100. I watched Green Arrow for a couple seasons. I watched The Flash for a couple seasons. I'm fine with that once in a while. But it has like a Game of Thrones budget. I mean, the costuming is incredible. The magic use on the show is really, really well done. So, so far it's a recommend, but I've only watched 2 out of the 8 episodes. We're going to be watching 2 more tonight, I think, together. So, you know, I don't like to push the Patreon on the channel because I don't like to be that guy who's like asking for money. I'm just saying, guys, if you are a patron, you do get specific perks, and that's one of them that they brought up, and I thought was a great idea, and we do that together, and we're talking about just like doing this for Wheel of Time in the future. So something to think about if you guys are curious about the Patreon. What else? Stranger Things 4 had a little teaser trailer, and again, it's like it didn't have a release date at the end, so what do I care? Look, I love Stranger Things. I know there's some people who have said it's just not good anymore. I've loved all 3 seasons, so yeah, I don't have anything bad to say. Do I want to see it? Sure. At this point, though, it's like, God, I feel like I need to rewatch it again because I can't remember when. It's been like 2 years since this show's been on, so I don't know. The teaser trailer makes it look like it's going to be a flashback. Look, think back to Stranger Things 2, and they had that one episode that was like a bunch of new characters. I hope that's not what they're doing with this because I hated that so much. It was like a really bad episode of Heroes. So I hope that's not what they're doing with this. But what can you tell really from a 60-second teaser that showed you absolutely nothing except that, you know, Papa is going to be back. So that's really, really cool. I think the best way to do this, guys, is just kind of answer a couple questions that I get. A couple of common questions I'm getting right now is, what do I think about Castlevania Season 4 on Netflix? Look, I think that the Castlevania series is really cool. I love the games. I'm a huge fan of that franchise. But I've only watched like the first season and a half of the Netflix series, and it's because of me. I struggle to really binge watch animation. That's just the thing with me. That's why I haven't watched Rick and Morty. That's why I haven't watched Archer. I mean, animation's tough for me. It's South Park's about the most that I can really handle. It's nothing against the medium. I think it's fantastic. It's entertaining. It's just something that's hard for me to just binge. I don't know why. It's just a thing. Maybe it's because I watch so much cartoons with my kids. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm sure it's still awesome. I've loved everything that I've seen on it so far. So I hope it continues that path that they've kind of cut out with those first 3 seasons. And the other question is, I know a lot of people are going to ask me about the trailer for A Quiet Place Part 2. Look, I like to stay positive on this channel, and I know people get like appalled by this. I thought A Quiet Place was the most overrated horror movie of the century, so I have no interest in seeing Part 2. So that's why I wasn't really planning on talking about it, but I know everyone's going to be asking me about it, but that's why I'm not talking about it. If you're excited for it, as always, man, that's awesome. I hope that you guys like it. I didn't care for the first one, so there we are. I'm going to close this by talking about House of the Dragon on HBO. Now, if you don't know, that is an adaptation of Fire and Blood. That is a Game of Thrones or a Song of Ice and Fire prequel novel written by George R. R. Martin. Now, again, I'm going to try to focus on the positive here. I personally would have preferred HBO let the IP rest for a little bit because I think they poisoned it, obviously. And I think that there are so many other incredible fantasy series out there that they could be adapting. But I understand they want to use that brand recognition. I get it. I get why they want to do it. I felt like they should have kind of let it breathe a little bit. But look, people think I'm just going to kind of shit all over this. But I'm not. Look, I would love nothing more from this to be good, okay? Because it would get people to finally stop bitching like they have for the last year and a half about how Game of Thrones ended. You know, so I mean, cool. It would be really cool if it's good. I don't know. I would have much rather had a show based on Robert's Rebellion than the Targaryen dynasty. But, you know, as far as I'm going to talk about what's going to happen here. Now, they released some pictures of the cast and costume for the first time. And the one that really stood out for me was Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen. Now, look, if you don't know who Matt Smith is, that is the 11th Doctor on Doctor Who, my personal favorite Doctor of all time. So I'm really interested to see how he plays Daemon, who is really a really cool character. You know, a dragon rider, second line for the throne behind his brother Viserys I. That's a very, very cool character. And this guy is just like a badass with Valyrian steel. Really, really cool character. So I think this has a lot of potential. I'm curious to see how much they sink into it. Obviously, you have different showrunners. That's going to be the top question there. Thank God. But, I mean, I'm hoping it's just, you know, they've got some source material. I hope they kind of stick to it and don't try to make this like a 5-6 season thing. Just adapt the book and move on. I think that book's maybe big enough for 2 seasons, maybe, top. So I hope they just do like a limited thing. But look, I want to be positive about it. You know, I mean, people just think that anything Game of Thrones is going to suck now. And I'm like, guys, you just need to forget for like 7 years. Yes, 7 years. You guys were talking about this as beating out Breaking Bad or Sopranos or MASH for the greatest show of all time. And now all of a sudden, you know, you guys act like it was never good. So I would love for it to kind of be like a... I can't say redeeming because I don't think you can redeem, you know, being on the cusp of the greatest show of all time and becoming like one of the most hated things of all time. So maybe it can be like a nice Band-Aid over that gaping wound here or something like that. I don't know. I'm sure I would love to have more Song of Ice and Fire content because it's not like George is going to give us any. But guys, that was my week. Quite a busy week and a busy week ahead as things kind of keep rolling along. And we are about 3 weeks away from starting that next Malazan book. So guys, have you caught up on Malazan? What are you reading? What do you listen to? What are you playing? What are you watching? As always, there are no wrong answers. Drop in the comments and let me know, and have yourselves an awesome weekend.